No idea what just happened there. I just kept saying I probably should go ahead and call, so this is what we're going to do. So sorry about that, guys. Man, definitely hate that. Let's try to get this again. Hey, I don't know what happened there. It just shut off. I think it frustrated whatever was going on. We probably just have to do audio, and so I'm gonna I got you on here now to make sure that it doesn't do it again. I'm just gonna put the speaker on and let you go like that if that works for you.
Okay, just on the phone here.
Yes, sir.
Yes, working.
Okay. Hold on one second. Okay, now if you guys, I'm gonna give the guys probably about a couple minutes to go ahead and come back on. I don't have any idea of what exactly happened. We've never had that happen on my phone before. So if you guys can just come on back on, and let's see if we can't get this thing back going. If you can hear me, give me some thumbs up. Let me know that you guys can hear what we're saying. I don't have any idea what happened, but we're going to go ahead. Yes, sir. So Mr. Stewart, before I think we got left off somewhere around the fact of what did you say? I think you were saying, as far as you'll pretty much know what you have, down there in the pen. That right there, it pretty much culls them pretty fast. And it's funny that you said that, because a lot of people don't think about the culling part and so forth, or seeing what a dog has. Like you said something very powerful. You said the dogs, they would run for 5 and 6 days or whatnot, and the only time they would come back down is if they actually needed water or they hurt themselves.
Yeah, that's years ago when we were still trying. Bruce knew Johnny's brother. Me and him was talking once, and we was back when I was really first starting to judge and that kind of thing. And it was something he said always stuck with me. If you let dogs run long enough, they'll place themselves. Mm-hmm. Well, that holds true with culling too. If you run them dogs long enough, they'll cull themselves for you. If you watch them enough and that kind of thing, you just have to. They'll tell you. They'll show you which ones is which. You just got to put them out there and stay with them. And actually, when you're working 5 days a week or 6 days a week, if you can run a dog out in one day, it probably could be a little bit better dog. Mm-hmm. So then, but yeah, it's kind of the way I see it. I guess I like maybe a little tougher dog, but I'm pretty hard on it too.
Well, I'm glad you said that. What exactly is it that you look for in a dog? What is it that you like? What is it that a dog has to have to be able to make you say, you know what, it can eat my feed here? I've heard so many stories that say, of course, that you are pretty tough on a dog, but what exactly does that dog have to possess to be able to eat whatever feed it is that you feed there?
Well, there's just one dog feed, and that's Purina.
Oh, yeah.
Pro plan performance, but that's my choice. But anyway, yes, the very first thing to me that a dog has to have, and most of you hunters are going to say the same thing, is hunt. They have to hunt. They have to hunt. Not till dinner and go home, or not that day, and you have to drag them out of the doghouse the next day. The dogs that stay here, and the guys that know me will tell you this, if I want to run 6 days or 6 nights, we used to run a lot of night time. If I have to drag that dog out of that kennel the 3rd, 4th, or 5th days, then I'm going to move it over to another kennel, kind of toward the end, you might say. And I'm going to focus on them dogs that's bouncing off that wire. When I go through my gate here, I've got kennels outside the yard. And when I open that first gate, if them dogs ain't bouncing off that kennel ready to go, I don't care if they've hunted 5 days or 10 days. Mm-hmm. If they're back in that doghouse, if they're not blind for those old cerisa seeds getting their eyes or something to where they can't see how to get out, if they're not out of that house on that gate, then that's the first thing I look for, is that extreme, I've got this saying here that I use, no fear in their eyes, no quit in their heart, no respect for their own body. And what that means is that they're just supposed to pick it. Now, they ain't the prettiest dogs there was. No, Will Mice will tell you that. They're not, I never did claim to have a pretty dog. But it will hunt, and you're not going to hunt it out. You may hunt it till it breaks down, turns itself up, and I'm a stickler for confirmation, so turning it up is not going to be, that's going to take a little while too. So, but besides that, I'm not one of them dogs like that real pretty dog that jumped up there in the front and runs 100 our yard and blows up, and old Joe comes through by him hanging on that track, or the rabbit runs in a thicket and he'll make a big circle around the other side and grab that track and run off with it. That's not my kind of dog. But I've had several of them that would do that, and I've watched a lot of them in field trials. It's people, they're flashy dogs to get a lot of attention and stuff, but yeah, I like a dog that can run a track. I'll tell you what, I'll try to explain to you this way. This is what I look for in a dog. A dog that hunt anytime I want to go, in the middle of the day, hot, rain, snow, dusty, dry, whatever. I want it to hunt when I go. I want it to jump a rabbit in a thicket that a snake couldn't get through. And when it jumps that rabbit, I want it to run it like it's breakfast or dinner or supper, and it's out with every intention of eating it with as few checks as possible, and do that 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Now, is that possible? Probably not. But that's my goal. And I try to get as close to, if I've got 10 dogs and 5 of them does that, there's 5 of them leaving. So, you know, that's about the best way I know how to explain that.
Now, let me ask you this. When you, go ahead, I'm sorry. I thought you was going to say something, I'm sorry.
No, I won't say that.
When you got ready to start making your breedings to dogs like Kingwood Shorty, or no, was it Kingwood's T-Rex or Kingwood's T-Rex? Yeah, that you bred to. When you began to breed into him and implement him and you know, use some of that in which Wayne Gross had, what was it that you saw in him that made you say, you know what, I think I'm going to begin to implement that dog, because there's something in him that I needed to add, or maybe I need to keep or maintain the momentum of what I have here. It's something that, you know, that dog showed you that matched up to what you needed, or something. What was it that you saw?
Extreme hunt. Mm-hmm. That dog, I watched him first time I got to watch him. Wayne took him down and let me watch him. I bought a half brother and sister that was out of Kingwood Shorty that Wayne, I think, had bred over there. I bought them 2 dogs, but when I went over, I wanted to watch Rex run. And we went down to a McDonald's there. That's a 3 or 4 acre thicket. And when I say thicket, I mean multiple rose bushes, blackberry briars, and just the office mess that you could possibly think of. And that Rex dog, he went through there leaving hair on every briar in there. I never saw the dog turn his head left or right. He just busted wide open. But on top of that, when he latched onto a track, he's like super glue, man. He didn't, I mean, you know, a 10, 15 second check in that small of area was a long time. Now, if you get out and open him, maybe get a little bit, maybe take 30 seconds, but now that dog could flat run a track. But what impressed me the most was that reckless disregard for his body and that intense hunt, and the fact that he had a super squall mouth really didn't hurt him much either. And he was a well put together hound. He wasn't a show dog by no means, but now his conformation was, for a high-bred dog, northern bred dog, he had better feet than usual. Good chest. His legs didn't sit too back up, so far back under his body, and his back leg was straight. Didn't show no cowhock or anything. A good broad muzzle, not too wide to where the briars and or the little seeds and things would get in his eyes and blind him. And his tail weren't too long where he beat the end off of it. Kind of coarse hard where he could stand over briars. There's just a lot of stuff there that I like. The thing that I said, and that was the base thing. Now, what I was looking at is crossing him with some of that spur stuff to get a little more size, maybe, and some of that Birch Lake stuff, in my opinion, to get some foot. Now, at the same time, I was using dogs that had a little bit of paycheck and snobs and some of them in some spots in there. To me, it kind of helped me with my speed. You know, you got to kind of watch where you put that stuff, but to answer your question about what impressed me most, is extreme reckless disregard for his body and hunt.
Wow. Now, I tell you, you know, you and I have shared and we talked a lot. How important is it that a dog has that virtue? I mean, we know that a dog has to be able to have brains, it have to have, you know, be able to be rabbit-minded. We know all of that. But if a dog doesn't hunt, what good is that dog?
Useless. I mean, if I'm going to get a briar patch and kick a thorn, what I need a dog for? I'm not going to, if a dog won't get on the road, it won't stop. I can't deal with that. If I want somebody to walk here and keep me company, I'll get up all the way to your original one. I don't have no use for no dog keeping me company. If I want to walk the road, hey, I don't want to walk the road, man. I ain't want to get in that briar patch. If I want to get in the briar patch, I'll just take my shotgun, kick every briar patch down through there and kill the rabbits, stick with it. But no, that's
Yes, sir.
You know, I can't deal with them road blockers. Them quitters, I can't deal with that.
You said something before we got a chance to go on. What was that quote that you quoted? I was going to get you to go back into that. It was something that you said when we got ready. It may not have been so much as a quote, but it was a phrase that you was going into. You were saying something about, I think, like that was missing in today a lot, that some people I forgot. I can't remember exactly what you said, but it was so powerful. I was hoping I could remember. I meant to write it down to go back in it. Do you remember what you said before we first went on?
Well, I probably talked more than I should have, but one thing that when you mentioned that, first thing come to my mind when you said that is I think that, you know, people out there breeding today, and not just breeding, but rabbit hunter, just your everyday rabbit hunter, field trialer, if you don't have the dog that you want, it's not the dog's fault.
Yeah, that's what you said.
Fault.
Yeah, that's what you said.
It's your fault. If you don't have a rabbit dog that suits you, and I wish everybody had a dog that they just truly loved and that suited them 120%. But if you don't, it's not the dog's fault. That dog can't breed itself. That dog don't buy no dog feed to keep it going on all cylinders. You know, it just don't. And it don't train itself. So it don't condition itself. I mean, what that dog does is a reflection on you. If that dog's not doing what you want and all you're doing is fussing and cussing about it, when I see that, I don't look at that dog. I look at the dude what's holding the other end of that lead rope. So because that dog is innocent, you know, if it's not doing what you want, find one that will. I mean, that's my advice to you. I don't know what other way of saying it. I don't mean to be that disrespectful or you know, harsh or anything like that, but it's just a fact. Mm-hmm. Dogs can't, you know, a dog can't change its breeding, or it can't condition itself, or it can't feed itself quality dog food. That's left up to the owner. You know, and that's like handling. You know, you go to these field trials and these dogs out through there running, they say the hunt's over, you see people running and screaming and hollering after their dog. Well, heck, train your dog, man. Get a whistle. If you can't holler loud enough, get your whistle. Train the dog. Heck, was running one all over the field. Looked like a nut out there running around.
Now let me ask you this. Well, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I didn't. I wasn't going to say that. I'm listening.
I was going to say, when it comes to I won't even say people. When it comes to the dogs of today, and I won't compare them, you know, last year, this year, are these dogs better? That's not the question I want to ask. The question I want to ask is, what you see today, I mean, you pretty much just answered it. What you see today, is it 100% the dog's fault? I mean, is it 100%? Well, whose fault is it 100% or what percent, whichever, whose fault is that? Because, you know, you have some dogs that say, well, you know, we can't help that some of those dogs didn't produce. You know, or we say, well, or some of these guys, they just didn't know, or whatever the situation. Would you say that it's a mixture of some of those dogs back then, they didn't have what it took to give it, you know, to the next generation, or the people of the previous had it to give and didn't give it, or either they had it to give and they gave it, and the people of this generation just didn't grab a hold to it?
That's a pretty simple question. You pretty much answered it yourself when you said the dogs had something to offer, or that the breed right there didn't work. Mm-hmm. If that breed didn't work, first thing, give them pups to some child somewhere for a pet and go do another breeding. And it's really the dogs of today. It's got nothing to do with the dogs, just like I said a minute ago. If you know, these dogs today, from the last 4 hunts that I went to, I don't know if there's a rabbit dog in the bunch. They run every which way, but it's not the dog's fault. If a breeding is bad, I mean, you got to experiment. Now, when I say that, you got to understand, you have to try different breedings, different crosses, and to find what you're looking for. But when you make a bad cross, don't keep a pup out of it or two and breed them to something else. Get rid of them and start over. Because if it didn't work the first time, change it, or it's not going to work the second time. So I don't know the dog. It's not the dogs. It's the breeders, or the breeders and the hunters. And you know, every time I bred it, once I started in it back in '74, I about got sick and everything else. And I made a lot of bad crosses. I made crosses that, shoot, I bred to field champion dog once that was a really nice dog. I loved him. I bred a female to him. I got 6 pups. One of them was a mediocre dog at best. The other 5 I
Yes, sir. Someone just asked the question. They said, "Do you think field trial breeding for many of the formats have hurt the breed?"
Well, sure it has. I mean, just look at them. You know, you go to, I've watched Brace Dogs, I've watched UBGF, I've watched Midwest, and I've watched Little Pack, even watched Large Pack once. Not up north, I mean the ARHS for Large Pack. You know, a rabbit dog's going to be a rabbit dog. It may be a little slower or a little faster, stuff like that. But when you start singling out and trying to breed specifically to, say you've got these judges in the Midwest, and I'm not picking on them now in respect, but I'm going to use them for example because I know a lot of older judges and I always like. But say you've got 5 clubs in the Midwest, and you've got 10 judges. There's 2 judges at each field trial. Okay. The gentleman here a couple weeks back mentioned you have rules. You do have rules, but rules are open to interpretation and opinion. So when you take your dog, for example, it's like this: when you have to look and see who's judging a field trial to know what kind of dog that he wants to see, that he's going to place, or that the kind of dog he likes, you've got problems. The best thing to do is to run a dog you like and heck with him. Let him go and do his thing because he's not hunting your dog or feeding it every day. Mm-hmm. And, you know, but I guess I just got a little different outlook on that. But I ran into some field trials. I didn't care if I win them or not. I just like to go, you know, visit everybody and watch other people's dogs run and see how my dog was measured up. And gosh dang, man, if you think you've got the best dog in the country, you better get out of the house more.
Yes, sir.
Because that's just not the way it works. You know, there's good. Everybody got. A lot of people got some pretty daggone good dogs out there. And
yes, sir.
It's a fact. If you think the dog good, you're running out there and running. You're getting back pretty quick if you don't watch.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I tell you, it's funny. I'm glad that we have you on tonight because I guess we're going to get pretty deep and dirty. Not too dirty, but you know what I mean. We're going to be as Dexter can say it, pretty diplomatic. Yeah, right. Yes, sir. And you know, you said something so powerful. You said you bred to 2 dogs that were not only able to get the job done, but they were field champions. One being Pine Mountain Voodoo, and the other one that you mentioned, and they didn't produce for you like that. And like you said, you could have continued to go off of that and go off of that and go off of that. But something inside of you, I would say, a real houndsman, you had to put forth the effort and put forth the consciousness to be able to say, you know what, at the end of the day, you know, I'm not just going to breed dogs because they're champions and hope that I can breed Voodoo or X amount of dogs 100 times to try to see if I can get, you know, whatever, and, you know, maybe he'll throw. Well, you know, yeah, a blind squirrel finds an acorn or a nut every now and again, but you did a smart thing, and I believe that's called damage control. You were smart enough to go in, perform the surgery. I'm not saying it was a cancer, but a type of cancer. You was able to remove it and then place what was needed in there so that the body could properly function properly. And now let me ask you this: what dogs after Voodoo and what dogs after that second male that you used and it didn't give you what you wanted, which dogs did you begin to implement into your breeding program at that specific time to try to make up the difference and keep your kennel going?
I wasn't much on these flavor of the month dogs that everybody advertises, and don't say they're not good. Now I don't mean it that way. When I say that, I mean they didn't suit me. They're probably better dogs in some ways, but you know, I had a specific goal in mind, and I knew what I wanted. I'm stubborn, but not stupid. You know, when I got something I like, you're not going to talk me out of it. But at the same time, if you can show me something better, I'm not closed-minded enough that I'm not going to look at it. So I tried some other dogs, that old Postman dog and stuff, but I kept coming right back to T-Rex and some of those dogs that I liked. I had dogs shipped in here from New York, some gay-bred dogs. I've had Little Ireland dogs, old Buster dog there at Townsline Johnny Paycheck, Snops, those dogs. All of those dogs are good dogs in the right place. But if you don't know how to stir the batter up and put it in there, then, you know, you won't get a lot of cold dogs. And to me, and I've seen it, and we talked about this in other places, if you got a breeder that breeds, say, and I'm not picking on no names, I couldn't really care less about that, but say you've got a breeder that's got 10, 15 females, and he produces 100 pups in a year's time. And 7 or 8 of those pups turned out to be field champions or whatever, or super rabbit dogs. You've got another kennel that produces maybe 20 pups, and 18 or 19 of them are a little better than average rabbit dogs, and the other two are rabbit dogs. The smaller kennel is the better kennel, in my opinion, because, you know, the more dogs you put out don't mean it's a better kennel.
Mm-hmm.
That don't mean it's a better bloodline. But the whole bottom thing, I'm probably going to harp on this a little bit, is better the breed, not your pocketbook, don't swell your head up.
Come on.
Leave all that foolishness out of it, and better the breed. If you can do that, if you can make a breed and then look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know, them dogs are better now than they was when I started, then I salute you. You're a good houndsman.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'm gonna ask you something. I know you didn't breed a whole lot, but you bred enough to make people be able to respect what you had and what you were out to do. People can look at it, and you know, no matter the phase that comes, no matter the phase that goes, at the end of the day, a lot of people will respect your line for what you did and so forth. I mean, I want to ask you this question: how did you stay so disciplined, and how did you stay so focused on what it is that you had, you know, the goal in mind? You know, the dogs, everybody else was having these dogs, and these, you know, we know the phases in that time that were coming by, and the bandwagons that you could have jumped on, but I noticed you never jumped on any of those bandwagons. How were you able to do that? And what would you say to the people today that see those bandwagons like you and I have talked about, but they don't know how not to jump on there or take a hold of there or go with it because it just seems so tempting? How and what would you say to those people?
I would say, if you know what you want in a rabbit dog, if you know, and now that sounds like a fairly simple thing, but a lot of people don't know what they want. And because I've had people come here to buy a pup or a started dog, and I ask them what kind of dog they want, but they didn't know. That's going to be your first thing. Once you know what you want, you know, and you get it, these flavor of the month dogs comes along, these stud dogs comes along, or this bloodline comes along. You know, if you want to try it, but don't lose your other dogs. Don't keep what you've got, because they're proven. They suit you. If you want to go hunting in the morning, if you want to get up and go drive 4 hours, throw out a pack of dogs, you've got them. So why keep them? If you want to try something different, go find you a pub, buy you a dog off someone that's got them or whatever. Run it. If it's what you want, then by all means go that way. But if you start listening to people standing around these galleries at these field trials, or maybe run into some hunters off in another state, maybe somewhere, and listen to them talk and things, you'll be out of a dog if you're not careful. The dog's going to suit you. My dog never had to please nobody but me. I fed them, I followed them, I cleaned up after them, and that was it. I didn't really, you know, I wanted the better of the breed, and I was blessed really by, I guess, just a little bit stubborn on what I knew I wanted. But these mountains really helped me on that too. These mountains are really tough. You know, the guys up north, I get a kick on them guys. They talk about how hard it is running up and how tough those hounds are and things, and they are. But every dog in my kennel was a hound. Mm-hmm. They was all from up north. Just like most of the guys probably listening to me babble here, their dogs are too. They're mostly northern bred dogs. But they were raised in this environment down here, and that toughness and durability that's been bred in them to them for centuries up there, or at least decades, it's there. It's just a product of their surrounded more so down here. You know, when those guys say, you know, but ram dogs up here and run with these northern dogs, well, that gun I'm going to be carrying the same dog up there you got. So I knew what I had, and the guys know me, knows I'm a little bit stubborn, but these mountains will tell you what kind of dog to keep if you want to kill rabbits day in and day out and have hard running through the summer and enjoy hound. You'll figure it out.
And I want to ask you this, because you said something that was also pretty key. I said something about this not too long ago, but I was telling somebody else. Sometimes they said, "Well, why do you bring so many different people on?" I said, "Well, you have to, because you never know. You can bring 60 people on, and the first 10 people, nobody was able to really fully receive from them. Maybe they were able to hit the SPO guys or the UBGF guys, and then you got somebody else on you can have to penetrate the little pack guys or the progressive pack guys. It's just being, very open-minded and being very methodical, trying to impact everyone and all that will come on. Well, I want to ask you this question. I tell people all the time, I say, I call down south the low country. I call up north the northern country or high country. You just said something very key. Now, to have a dog down here that descends down from the northern line, Mr. Stewart, such as yourself, you ran those dogs like that, Pine Mountain Chester, Charlie Voodoo, dogs like that, Gracie, Spirit, all those, Big Hollow Buster. When you look at it, now, watch this. When you look at those dogs and how you ran them, how you conditioned them, how you trained them, all of that stuff, is it wrong? Because some people say, well, no, no, it's not a bash. It's not a put down. You're not being belittling. You're not being closed-minded. Is it wrong for a person, okay, those dogs are like they are up north and our dogs are tough and like, whatever they are down here to be able to endure? If that's the dog that fits your territory and your terrain, is that wrong?
No. I mean, why would you want to try to put a round peg in a square hole?
Exactly.
If you've got dogs that's, like dogs are somewhat like people and children, I guess, in a certain way. They're a product of their environment.
Mm-hmm.
You can have these northern bred dogs bred from pups down here over a couple generations, whatever. They're raised right here on this cliff behind my house. It's steep as a cow's face. The dog got to stay in four-wheel drive all the time. Now, that same dog, if it was run up north, for example, now I'm not picking on the north buddies because, heck, that's where all my dogs come from. But you run a dog up there in flat country over that snow and it with ice on top of it, it'll cut their pads all to pieces and true, and they run a lot farther distances probably. But they're not running straight up a pole or something. I've had more dogs slip their pads back here in this pen because it's so steep and dry and rocky and that kind of thing. But no, I don't think it's wrong at all. Actually, I think it's a compliment in some ways. But that's one reason that I went with some of those northern bred dogs, because they've been bred to be hardy and withstand that weather and conditions and fight their way through that heavy snow. If they can fight their way through snow from up to their ears, and they are tough enough, they can fight their way through briars that big too. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of a lot of it.
Yes, sir.
A lot of it's opinionated too.
Yes, sir. Now let me ask you this. I want to follow with this since you just said something. You hit on it a little bit. As far as breeding, when it comes to breeding, Eddie-O, he's on here and he said something that we've been talking about as well. He says, when you make a cross, are you more interested in the cross? Now, he's not asking you this, he's just generally speaking, but I want to chime you in on this. He said, when you make a cross, are you more interested in that cross or future crosses from that cross? Now, you and I know what you're going to say, but I also want to add to this, not as far as in making a statement, but as far as in opening up, the question a little bit more and broadening it a little bit. When it comes to yourself, what are you looking for? Not so much as ability or performance or this or that, but in breeding methods, strategies, so forth and so forth. You make a cross today. How far are you looking, or how far are you forecasting, or foreseeing? Before you're saying, okay, whoa, let's hold it. Are you looking at 5 generations out? You're looking at, 10 generations out, or, the next 10 years, next 12 years. How are you looking at that? How can you help someone that's on the line that doesn't know anything about breeding?
Personally, I look at 3 generations. And the reason, I'll try to explain that a little bit, but I tell people I'm a 3rd generation breeder. Now, to me, when I say that, I want to know as many dogs back in the history of that dog as I can go. A lot of people say they don't influence them back there, which everybody knows that they do. But I want to see at least 5 generations behind the dogs I'm fixing to breed. And I want to know. To me, when I'm looking at that, if you're breeding the right dogs, right crosses and everything, you're gonna know what them pups are. If you don't know what you're gonna be, then don't do it. But if you'll know what those pups are. And Eddie came over yesterday. We were looking at his female he was thinking about breeding, and he had 2 males that he was kind of zeroed in on. I asked him one question: what are you going to breed that one of those pups to? Once you get pups out of this, whichever cross you decide, what are you going to breed that dog to? That pup to? He told me the dog. I said, so that narrows it down to right here. And so when I make a breeding, I'm not just looking at that pup, because if you do that, you're not going anywhere much. You've got to look at what are you going to take those pups and breed them to, and then what are you going to breed a pup out of that cross to, and then what are you going to breed pups out of those crosses to? Because if you don't do that, you're going to be a short-time breeder. Because, it's not, if you can't just get one pointed north, one pointed south and hope for the best. If you don't plan the future of them, the pastures, you can't change that. The only influence you got is on the future. And if you don't look into the future, then why bother? It just don't, that's just, I guess that's my way of looking at it.
Yeah, well, no, it makes sense, though. It makes sense. Now, outside of extreme hunt, what are some of the key attributes you want a dog to be able to offer in the time of, you looking at them and so forth and so forth? I know hunt's a major thing. How do you break down the anatomy of a dog as far as ability and gene pool? I mean, the whole, what is your whole look on that beagle to be able to better? What must a dog have to be able to better it? Everything, the potential to throw what he or she is, throw better than what he or she is, so forth and so forth. How would you break that down?
That's a pretty good question. Well, you've got to have the hunt. That's a given. But that said, if you got one of the hardest hunting dogs that's got just kill itself hunting, if it don't have the proper conformation, it's got good feet, straight legs, good straight level back, a good muzzle, and a tail that ain't 4 foot long or big around as your thumb or whatever. I mean, that stuff, I don't care how game your dog is, how much grit it's got, if it don't have the proper conformation, it's not going to be able to stand that every day, 7 days a week, 30 days a month for 3 or 4 months, and it won't be its fault. It'll be game enough, but its body will just break down. And so that's not a priority. But in another way, it is a priority. They got to have the grit, but they got to have the body too. You can't put a damn burn 2018 model engine in a 1939 car. It don't work. So if you've got all the energy and all the hunt that you could possibly want, if it's not in a package that's going to get it around, it's going to break down. It's going to slip past. They're going to be limping around with their shoulders out of pocket and cow hop. They want to turn their back legs all to pieces. And if you get one to a lot of these dogs I've noticed over the years that, you go right there where their eyes comes down to their muzzle. If you can put your thumb in that right there and find those two little humps, when you run them through this cerise and these mountains, every bit's going to pack plumb full of seeds. They'll be blind in 2 days. It's taking 3 or 4 days to get where they see again. So the confirmation, with all the hunt in the world, they've got to have confirmation. I'm not saying they have to be a show quality dog, but although I would like that, but it's just maybe not possible to do that. But try to get the best confirmation you can with that hunt. Now, on top of that, a dog has to be able to smell. They got to have a good nose. Confirmation dogs will have a broader muzzle, bigger cavities to breathe through, all that kind of stuff. Now, then you go to brains. If they've got the nose to smell that rabbit, they got to have enough brains to say which way is it the hottest, so it won't run backwards. How old is this track? Do I need to bark now, or do I need to wait a while? Just so your brains gets involved in it, and and when you look back, I guess more to your question, when you look back behind the 2 dogs that you're thinking about breeding, if you're lucky enough to know those dogs, which dogs did have that, which ones were built good, had good conformation, which ones didn't pop off, which ones could run a track and know which way to run, which ones didn't get too far out of pocket to find a track back if they did lose it. So, they're just breeding. It's not a one-track thing. You can have a lot of stuff, but if you ain't got it in the right package, brother, it's not going to go too far. So, I hope I answered that.
Yes, sir.
But
no, sir, absolutely. You answered it perfectly. Now, let me ask you this. What dogs back then, I'd say, how long have you been into Mr. Stewart? What would you say, 20, 30 years or more, 40 years?
I started in 74.
Man. So back then, what dogs would you say did you see that were of the stronger descent of those type of dogs, outside of the dogs that you bred to directly, that you would say, these are exactly the type of dogs I would like to, some people like to hear the stories of those old hounds, those dogs that, we see in pedigrees, and some every now and again you post a picture up. You know what I'm getting at. But you say, you know what? I actually saw these dogs, and these dogs were exactly what I'm talking about.
My goodness. I'm gonna tell you a little story first before I can try to get into it.
Okay.
Bring me back if I get to the far left hand.
No. Go ahead.
Eddie had a dog years ago. I think it was out of a sport dog at Lincoln Crest maybe had down there. I don't remember his whole name, but anyway, he called him as a tracker. I got him, and Eddie ended up with him. And a stinking Eddie and his buddy there, Liam, hunted that dog every day through season. And I know some of the guys on here said, maybe I can't do that. But anyway, they hunted that stinking dog every day through season, from daylight to dark, mostly because they couldn't catch him. They'd turn him loose at daylight and they'd try to catch him at dark. But that son got hunted every day, and every time I come through there and seen him, he was going wide open. And Eddie fed him about a third of what he needed to feed him, and he about big around my wrist. But that son got never would quit. He was the tougher dog I ever seen run anywhere. Now, he may have some extra bark to him. He may pop off going backwards and stuff like that. But he had all that stuff. Another dog that comes to mind for me was old Lincoln Crest had a dog named Big Red Tracker. I had some sisters and brothers to it. They weren't as good a dog as Tracker was. Tracker was a better dog than his brothers and sisters and even his mommy. I think I owned his mommy one time. But that dog won the Midwest Gun Dog Association runoff 2 years in a row. Mm-hmm. And I placed him fourth once when I judged him. And he was a dog that I was really impressed with. Now, Johnny New back then had a dog named from New City, Cruiser. Cruiser was a fast dog. He latched onto a track real good. But Cruiser was a dog that he's one of the first dogs, I guess, that I really noticed how he was smart. He was a smart dog. He had, squirrel dogs are really smart. And I flew with squirrel dogs for many years, but a squirrel dog was a smart dog. Old Cruiser was a smart dog. He used his head, and he would mess with the pack of dogs. He understood. He understood competition. He's real competitive. Indian Hills Major, that was another one that was a pretty tough hound. But another dog that I've watched and watched him before, it really didn't belong there, was a dog named Blue Rock Hobo. He was a UBGF style dog. But I watched him run down at Berea once with in the Midwest Gun Dog Pack, and he was running with Cruiser and Major. Sawmill Sam, old Sammy down there. And I think New City Clint was in there. And I tell you, that little Blue Rock Hobo dog, that dog wouldn't make him much taller than him. They may bust out in front of him a little bit, but he's running about third in the pack. But, I was really liked that little dog. I didn't think I could use him to produce in kind like I wanted, but he was a tough dog. And, when you get into that, too, there's a consistency in a dog. I think consistency is the hardest thing. Well, maybe not the hardest thing, but it's one of the hardest things to get in a dog. Day in and day out consistency. I saw dogs that today you take them to a hunt, they lock onto a track, and you just think that's the best dog ever was. 2 days later you go out with it and you think it's the craziest dog you ever saw. So the consistency is something there. But the dogs, I guess, to your question there, that impressed me back in those old days was Frank Reese's old gay bred dogs. They weren't no smoking, fast dogs that just could get out there in the Midwest and run that fun in. But they didn't miss a lot of rabbit. They run a solid track, had good hard hunt to them. Old Frank Reese had something told me years and years ago about Gay Baker. Said you can't outrun him, you can't run him out. I never 100% agreed with what he said there, but I understood what he was saying when he said that. Gay Baker was a tough hound, but at that time, like I said, I didn't exactly and still don't agree with that 100% because any dog can be run down. But I understood what he was saying in it. Tom Dorn's Little Island dogs, I tried some of them. Tough little dogs. UBGF style speed dogs weren't really fast, but they was all-day rabbit dogs. They run their speeds. They'd hunt all day. Good solid dogs. And there's places, for all those dogs. And I like, just because I don't run a dog myself, it don't mean I don't like them. I like those gay bred dogs. I like the Little Ireland bred dogs. I like a lot. I like New City Cruiser. I like those Major and Spots and stuff. And the old Big Wasika River Maximum Effort dog, big old black tan dog. I think old
Campbell's good time gunner.
Yep, Creek gunner.
Campbell's good time gunner.
Campbell's good time gunner, yeah.
Now, how did you like him?
I had a dog, yeah, he was a nice dog. I had a dog here that's out of Wasaka River, Maxwell, and Blue Bass Prima Madonna. He was a litter mate to that pleaser dog. His name was Singer. He's a strong dog. That's Chester's daddy. Big, strong, black and tan hound. And then I had that old ripper dog that I got off Chip Davis up in Ohio. He's out of Spur, Northwest Louisiana. Different kind of dogs, but they had it all. They was, I don't know, it was a little different, but they all had good stuff, just kind of a little different. Ripper was a producing dog. He took some hard hunting some dogs. And if you look at his picture, he looks a lot like Dexter's old Samson dog. You know, as looking at him, man, he would try to pick it up. He'd hurt himself bad. And then that little old Danny Run North Star dog, she was tough. And, you know, and the thing about them dogs, I had zero to do with them. I didn't breed none of them or nothing. I was just lucky enough to find them. You know, and that's like Voodoo. Voodoo was a good dog. Scrub was a good dog. Chester was a good dog. Chester, if the guys that got him had not really wanted him, you know, nobody probably would have got him. I liked old Bobby and Alan and Will Mason and Jim Allen. Them guys, we go back a lot of years, and they wanted him, and I let them have him, and they done great things with him. And that's the thing too. That goes back to my dogs weren't never campaigned like a lot of these dogs are, and I just appreciate those guys that had enough confidence and trust in those dogs that did take them out and campaign them. Like old Junior there, you know, Junior was I didn't breed him. I reckon Will Mason bred, but it was out of my dog. That old Spade dog, Osborne Spade. Those dogs came out of this bloodline here, and those guys had enough trust and confidence in those dogs to push them dogs, and I was so happy that they turned out for them and didn't let them down, you know. But there's been a lot of good dogs come through here, and I've seen out, you know, like old Maxwell Effort dog, gosh dog, any of those spur dogs. Dexter's had some powerful dogs. Northway Driver, I've had pups out of him. I had one year I called Pine Mountain Driver, was out of Northway Driver, and like over Mt Beagles, I think. He's a house cat, he could fly. Then I had the old big Buster dog and Gunner. I had three of them. I had Buster and Gunner, and then I had a female up there. Buster was a fast dog, beautiful dog, but he was the kind of dog that took a lot of maintenance. You had to run the hair off of him. And that gets into, when you're figuring on your bloodline, you've got to look at that too.
Yes, sir.
Some dogs you can lay up for a week and they run just as good. Other dogs you have to run them every day. And, you know, and then some dogs you can't run every day. You got to, you know, so it's, all that stuff comes back into your breeding.
Jimmy,
I don't know if I answered your question.
Oh no, you're fine. You are.
Answer somebody.
Look, yes, sir. You probably answered a whole lot just in there in one breath. Jimmy asked the question. He said, "Ask him if he is ever coming back."
I don't know. I would like to. My old body, before I got hurt 9 years ago, I have trouble getting out there and watching my hounds, and I'm kind of feeling I don't take nobody's word for stuff. I love Jimmy and Avatar, and Eddie Frederick, he sees things just about the same as I do. But he knows, and they'll tell you, I just have to see them with my own eyes. And to do that, you've got to be in shape and stuff like that. And I don't know. I love it so much. That's one thing I was so reluctant or slow, hesitant, I guess you would say, about doing this interview, because I just love Mt Beagles so much that if I get started talking about them, next thing you know, I'll have 15 or 20 down there. So I wouldn't rule it out.
Yes, sir. Abshire,
if somebody would feel sorry for me and give me a pretty good dog.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you sound about like me. Abshire asked the question. He says, "Why did you get on the spur wagon?"
I don't spur dog. One thing I like about him is ugly. Just kidding there. No, spur had a lot of hunt, man. A lot of nose, a lot of hunt, just intense hunt. But two, something that I've never really heard anybody mention about them dogs, it's like old Ripper and some of them, Driver and Ninja and Iron, some of those dogs, is conformation. Good, thick, heavy bone dogs that just 4 or 15 inches, just thick chested, good, strong dogs, big, heavy, but they could just take a beating, you know. And that was, I guess, the extreme hunt and their body, they're just so strong. If you ever try pushing a rope, you'll figure that out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you're right. Lord knows. Brother Mason, he asked the question. He says to ask you about. I'm looking at one of these comments. These guys are crazy. He said you ask him about Singer's nose. He said, tell me the story about Singer. Or tell us a story about the Singer dog.
I'm assuming he's talking about one where I almost killed him. Singer, we was hunting over on Mountain Drive once years ago, me and Eddie on some more hunting. And we had a pack of dogs on the ground that I felt like was pretty that darn good dogs. Any one of them in there, you could take any dog in those 7 or 8 dogs we had there and kill rabbits from daylight to dark with them any day you wanted to. Hot, rain, snow, cold, it didn't matter. Well, we got off on one side of this bluff over there, and it's thick as a jungle. And Singer, the dog strike a rabbit. And I mean, when them dogs strike a rabbit, it wasn't a strike. They just blow up like a hanger and it's gone. So anyway, they did that, and they lost the rabbit. Well, Singer, he never did lose it. He just stayed with it. He run here, he run there, run back forth. It's so thick you couldn't see anything in there. And as some guys run, these dogs go checking, they ain't smelling nothing. Well, they're gone after about 30 minutes or so. I'm thinking, what some guy? He's got problems. I thought he was out there in one of them little brown field rats or something. So I climbed up on top of a rock, and I told Eddie, I said, that son gonna come through here again. Me and him's gonna have a bad discussion up here. That's what he's doing. Well, sure enough, he made him a big loop down through the woods. He got a little faster, come back up. About the time I was about to make my mind up what was going to happen there, Eddie yells, bam, killed the rabbit up on the hill. That stinking Singer had run that gone rabbit through a whole pack of quality dogs. I'm not talking about if you ever trade dogs at your trade day. I'm talking about rabbit dogs. That son gun run that rabbit all through them. They never know it existed. But that's not the only time I saw that. But that's what I think that's what he's asking about.
Yes, sir. That's what he was talking about. Yes, sir. Now, let me ask you this. Is this the same dog that got snake bit by the copperhead and wouldn't stop?
That's a voodoo.
Okay.
That was voodoo. Voodoo was a little different. The scrub dog I had was probably as good a dog as Boo. I guess I just got a little more attached to Boo. Boo was kind of a one-man dog. If we was at a hunt somewhere or a field trial and they'd say, handle your dogs, I'd say, don't catch my dog. I didn't have to catch him. I wish we'd come, because if you picked him up, he'd bite you. That's all it was to it. But anyway, Voodoo was a dog that, now, before I try to tell you about this, I want to try to make it understood that I was just lucky enough to be the man on this dog. I didn't breed him. Wayne Gross bred him. That was in that first letter we was talking about earlier that I bought the pups. And so I really didn't have anything to do with him. I just hauled him around. You know, I just hauled him around more or less. He won the North American there in 2000. And had drove from the college, Mississippi, got down to the last cast of dogs, and guess who I had to run against? Pine Mountain Chester.
Wow.
Pine Mountain Chester. That Bobby Best had snuck down there and carried him all the way down there just to pester me, I believe. So I got down there and had to run against my own dog. And Chester was a dog, he was a dog that had to be reckoned with. If he was there, you were going to have to deal with him. So anyway, I knew it was going to be some interesting thing. But get back to the old Boo there. Eddie and Richard was judging a hunt over at Mountain Drive, big old surface of mine over here, and it's pretty rough terrain. And it was hot up in the day. I think, if I remember right, up in the upper 90s, somewhere through there. They come around through them dogs were pounding rabbit pretty hard. They holler, let's catch your dog, you got snake bit. Well, that time they said that, there was 2 female dogs following him. I think we was in the winter's cast. And there was 2 female dogs following him. They both were screaming hard, flipping, flopping around. Well, they never even missed a check. He's still going through there. So they said, you didn't catch him, he's snake bit. I said, well, he didn't act like he's snake bit. So they said, well, he's bit. So anyway, he goes on for a few minutes, grabs a couple more checks, and I finally said, well, they kept telling me, I said, you need to catch him. So I whistled him in, got him up there. I couldn't reach around his front leg. He'd been up on the leg, his foreleg there. And it swelled up just horrible. But he never did quit. He was still running. I believe he'd run until he fell over. He didn't show any signs of quitting. Another time I run him over there, and he come across through a little old flat, and he got off down there and he cut his second front toe on his right foot from the left, the second toe over. He cut that stinking toe. The only thing was on it was just a little skin on top and the hair. So I seen him there, and I whispered over. He come over, I set him up on the tailgate. And every time guys hustle me, knows what I carry in my little pouch. I carry super glue and blue coat and a little Orgel. Not for me, but them crazy dogs. So anyway, I get him up there. I put a little water on his toe and wash it out, and it just flopping around like a piece of skin. I slapped a little super glue on it, stuck it back together, held it a few seconds. It got back in place. I threw a little super glue or a little Orgel on it. Got it off, fixed up for it, slapped blue coat on it, and I said, well, I wasn't on my truck, I was on somebody's, so I'll take him over to the truck, put him up a while. That son gun jumped off that tailgate right there, he went and run the rest of the day. And there, I figured he'd know when to quit. I just let him run. He never did quit. So another time, me and Don was hunting over there. He went through a multi-four rose bush. Now, he was stroking through there. Not once his head went from back over his butt. He got hung up on a big four rose bush stone, and he split his ear. You can pull it apart and look through it. I got him over, slapped a bit of super glue on, stuck it back together, put some blue coat on it, throw him back down. But old Blue was a pretty tough old hound.
And that's something that you continue to go through, that same type of momentum, dog after dog after dog. Now let me ask you this: did you ever waver in your persistency to keep that same kind of, intensity on all of your dogs? Did you ever waver? Did you ever say, this dog right here, I'm going to take it easy, or this dog doesn't really, I'm going to just baby it, or you kept that same momentum, didn't you?
No, I never had any reason to waver. I had guys say, Rufus, I had a pretty good bitch line that time, which was sister to Voodoo and cousins and so on, bred out of Singer and Old Ripper and different Rex and different. Well, I had a pretty good bitch line. I had six. I usually kept about six pretty strong females. I had no star dog and had a dog named Buckeye Brain Spirit because it was Dance McCrae's four cross of Dance McCrae. And I had a pretty good bitch line. And the guy said, won't you take that dog breed to this, that, and other? I said, if you want to take your dog breed to that, you go ahead and breed it. But I'm staying with where I'm at. I don't see no reason to change. Well, you can sell them pups, make money. That's that dog. Everybody knows it. You might. But I couldn't care less. Didn't even remotely interest me. And them guys you're talking to right there, old Crazy Wheelbase and Eddie and Bobby and Jimmy, I said, they know. When you asked me that question, they would tell you the same answer I did. I didn't have no reason to change. Now, don't get me wrong, I looked at these dogs. Mm-hmm. But, and they was good dogs. I'm not saying they weren't good dogs. But I knew what mine was. I would have been taking a chance on some of those crossing them over. I knew how my crosses worked. And so, if it ain't tore up, man, don't try to fix it.
Mm-hmm. Will Mason told me to ask you about the biblical dog that you just mentioned and Pine Mountain JJ, his sire.
Let's see, JJ's sire. I don't know if that was Ripper or who it was. I can't remember that. I remember JJ dog, and I think was that the one Crook was out of, or Jim, Liv, or whatever they were. But anyway, that biblical dog, she was a dingus spread dog primarily. There was another. She had some Indian Hills Major in her too. She's probably one of the best running females I was ever lucky enough to own. We hunted her, me and Richard, my son hunted her just by herself in the God office place over here one day. I think we killed 17 or 18 rabbits, maybe more. And she ran a mile by herself. But she sounded like 2 or 3 dogs running. She had so much mouth, she barked every which way. But she had a little something that she's a dog that if there is one of the dogs you can't break off a deer, it's a dog that just runs one every now and then. Because you don't never know what's going on until it's up too late. And that little heifer, she'd get on it. She'd be running. You run her a month, she might not touch a deer. But I tell you one thing, brother, when she did touch it, she runned it. We saw her edge on, what I'm talking about. Probably, I think Richard may have been there too. I know Lemmy was. But that dog run a deer at the bay in an hour and 40-some minutes. About 2/3 grown dog. She flat run at the bay, had it backed up against a cliff with its sides slapping together. And now, so when I say run it, I mean she runned it. But now she's a hard little dog. She throws some pretty good pups too. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I answered that Crazy Will's question of it. He just messed with me anyway.
Oh no, yes sir, no. Let me see. What would you say? He says, wasn't Dolly out of Biblica?
I think she was, yeah.
Yeah.
I think she was, yeah.
Now,
That's another pretty good dog. Hey, old Will had a dog down there named Gracie. Was a good dog, too.
Mm-hmm.
A Gracie dog.
What's a pretty good dog?
If I remember, I think maybe Will's one bred junior. I'm not 100% sure on that. But I think he was. Old Will's had some good dogs down through there. He brought some of Dexter's dogs down through with him. Some old Will, Wild Bill, I always call him. He's went through some pretty good dogs in this country down there.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby and Allen has too. I saw some people that logged in there. There's a lot of good guys out there got good dogs. But World Brenner's got some good dogs. Wayne White's had good dogs. Like I said earlier, if you think you got the best dogs, you better get out of the house more.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's say you had a young person that was out here now. You know, you see a lot of them that are out here, and they're misguided because a lot of the older people are misguided as well. A lot of the people that I've seen that have had dogs that have probably even started around the time that you started, you know, when you look to them, and some of them I've known for years, and some of them I've probably just come into meeting. But it's something, because I know you've seen the same thing. You know, you said something so monumental, basically. I mean, really paramount. You said that you didn't have a reason to waver. You know, you didn't have a reason to do that. And I think you said that before when Dexter was on, that a lot of people have changed due to the fact that, you know, they go to one trial and they say, well, man, you know, this dog right here isn't this, or it doesn't have that, or it doesn't have this. But you knew before you got to that trial that dog had sold you, and that you had, you know, that dog had what it took to stay at your house, and so forth and so forth. But the thing is, you know, like you've seen so many that continue to jump and go and skirt and get over here and try to breed this and try to take that. You know, it's very sad, because you see a lot of young people that are out here now, you know, some my age, you know, some 40, some, you know, younger than 30s, you know, that really, really want to be, you know, a dog man or a houndsman or a person that's halfway knowledgeable or something. But it just seems as if there's so many people that are out that seem to do the same thing. You know, they begin to go and they begin to go with the wind and, you know, jump with every ship that's, you know, coming to the dock. But, you know, as far as the young people that are out here today, you know, I think that we need more people like yourself that would just tell it pretty much, one, like it is, but two, also to be able to show that, you know, here's a visual prop of a gentleman that started out with a particular line, incorporated a couple of other lines to better what it was that he had. And just because you're not using these different things, you know, that doesn't mean that you're kennel blind. And that's one of the things I think I wanted you to mainly go on, was that right there. I went all around that to have you say that. You know, does that mean that you're kennel blind because you don't want to implement all of the hot shot breedings?
No, me personally, go back to what I said a while ago. It's like, I'm going to use you for example. If you've got a pack of dogs at your house right now that you like to hunt and they suit you, I mean, maybe, you maybe see a little something you want a little better. Of course, everybody does. But if they suit you, you can take it. If you get up in the morning, you want to drive halfway around the world, hunt them, you've got confidence, you can hunt them all day, and you like them. Keep them. Don't let nobody talk you out of it. If you go to a field trial and you see something that you just absolutely have to have some of, they're going to go buy you one, buy a pup, or maybe take one of your females and breed to it, or whatever that you want to do in that way. But don't give up the dogs you've got, because if you do, you're going to regret it most of the time, and you can't hardly get them back. So first thing I would hope that I could, if I could impress just one thing on these youngsters that's coming out right now, first thing I would try to impress on, and I don't want people to misunderstand this, I want everybody to have the dog they want. Not the dog I want, but the dog that they want. But first and foremost, you've got to know what you want. If you don't know what you want, it's like a weed sticking up in the wind. It's going to blow whichever way. So, you know, first of all, know what you want first. Until you do, you're going through a lot of shoe leather, a lot of money, and a lot of sweat and tears. Once you figure out what you want, and you strive, you may not have it. You may have to hunt for it. But when you do find it, don't let nobody talk you out of it. If they want you to try something and you let them talk you into trying something, just please don't give up what you got. Keep what you got. You can put another dog somewhere and try it, and if it's better for you, great, super. some of my buddies, I was lucky enough to have friends that liked the dogs that I did, and I was just blessed. But I always tried different dogs, and the guys over at the club a lot of times, they say, where you getting the dog shipped in here from this time? But I'd buy dogs, if I'd research some more, and I tried the dogs and tried to blend them in and this, that, and other, but I never did falter off my line. No, I wouldn't say my line, just the dogs I was fun with at the time. But I knew what I wanted, and they did what I wanted, and I kept trying to better them. Sometimes it worked, like when I got those Singer dogs. He worked good for me with Star and Bell and some. And so had I been kennel blind, I would never tried him. And that's like Ripper. When I was lucky getting up, Ripper off Chip there, had I been kennel blind, I wouldn't have tried him. But don't be kennel blind, and don't be a little bit stubborn, but don't be stupid. Try new stuff. Keep your mind open. But man, when you get something you like, hold on to it. And try stuff without losing what you got. I guess that's the only way I know how to tell you.
Yes, sir, and I like that. So I think it was you and I that were saying something very similar to that. That as you're using or implementing a line or bringing a line into what you have, that they'll say, well, man, Mr. Stewart, this dog right here is so nice. You got to breed that dog, and then you go see it for yourself, and you say, yeah, you confirm what they're saying and affirm what they're saying. Yeah, that is a nice dog, but I don't like them so much that I would breed to this dog or this particular dog or that particular dog and lose X, Y, and Z just to gain A, B, and C.
Exactly.
And I don't think a lot of people really understand that concept either. Now let me ask you this: so many people said there's a I don't know if it's some kind of board or some kind of scale that we have figured out that we've mastered. We've mastered exactly what it is that you're supposed to do. There's like some kind of what is it? There's some kind of arithmetic that we can come up with, or some kind of equation that we came up with that so many breeders have said they came up with. That it tells you exactly how to breed dogs. You're going to get this exact dog and get that exact dog, so forth and so forth. Have you ever came up with the perfect solution? Have you came up with that yet? In all the years that you've been breeding, have you came up with the perfect solution?
If I could do that, I'd breed racehorses. I just don't think that's possible. But I tell you, on that thing, that's a really good point there. I've got a program that I run that gives you coefficiency of dogs, how much each dog's going to influence that breeding and all that. It just won't hang up to that. It's like if you don't know the dogs that's back in that pedigree, them numbers are just numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I was breeding, if I'm going to use old T-Rex, for example, when I crossed him over and got Charlie, you would think when I bred him to Bales and got Charlie, or I don't even remember how I bred, but anyway, when I bred him to Charlie, they when I run a coefficiency on it, he'd be 50% T-Rex. But now he was like 56 or 57% T-Rex because T-Rex was on the other side. That was just numbers, but I knew the dogs. I'll tell you a little example that some of the guys here will know what I'm saying. I've been at hunts before, and I'm not the only one to do this, but any breeder that really breeds and studies their bloodlines and so on would know. I've been to some hunts, some pretty good sized hunts, just that other one. Be sitting around with some of the guys from our kennel or our club over here, and somebody come up with a pedigree book and lay it down and said, Rufus, I've got this dog out here and I'm thinking about breeding it. How should I breed it? And then they go and tell me, it's a good dog, it's pretty damn good dog, got this, got that. Well, I'm not listening to them first. I'm looking at that pedigree. If they lay a pedigree down there, and back when I was from about the 80s to 2004 or 5, most of the ones I knew, and I don't mean this in no kind of braggadocious type of way at all. Like the guys, some of the guys on here can tell you what I'm fixing to say. They've laid this book down with this pedigree in it, and I look at it, and he's telling me how this dog runs, and I'm looking at the pedigree. And when he gets through telling me about how good the dog is, just for example, I'm going by one experience. I had several experiences, but I'm going to use one that's in my mind so I can not babble so much. But this guy was telling tell me this dog's fast, but the pedigree don't show anything about no fast. Shows it to have extra bark, probably back up a little here and there, and so won't be prone to running deer just by looking at this pedigree. So I say, look, you know, you're telling me this, but here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that dog is probably going to bark extra on frows, use a little extra mouth. Well, yeah, he does bark a little extra. Well, you know, I'm seeing that dog is not really a real fast dog. He's probably about a medium speed dog. Well, yeah, he's not real fast. And I said, well, have you ever had any trouble with him running backwards a little bit out of a check area or something like that, or maybe getting too far out of the check to find it back? Well, yeah, he loses it sometimes. He gets too far out. You know, I have to call him back in. And I'm not listening, but I'm looking at what those dogs in that pedigree are telling me, because a lot of them I have seen myself. So if you know that, them numbers mean something to you. But if you can't do that, then them numbers are useless. Am I making any sense on that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's kind of what I go by, and some of the guys there, if they're still there, they know they've seen that before.
Yes, sir. I'm going to ask you this, because now the questions are starting to come in. I was hoping I could stall long enough for them too, because I wanted to make sure that I didn't just ask my mind, ask my thoughts. But Mason asked the question. He said, Eddie asked the question. He says, if you outcross your dogs, what's the first thing you look for?
Hunt.
Yeah.
Well, if I outcross a dog, one thing, the dog that I'm going to outcross to has to be line bred. Not my dog line bred, but another dog line bred. What I'm saying.
Family to family.
Example, if I'm say I'm breeding my T-Rex first up, and I want to do an outcross to bring something new in there, and I'm going to use it, and I'm not picking them but say Birch Lake dogs. I want that dog to be like Birch Lake, Texas, Misty, whatever, on the top and the bottom before I'll ever think about crossing out to it. If it's just got a couple crosses on the top or a couple crosses on the bottom, I'm not interested. If it's got, for example, I'm going to use Birch Lake, Texas T. If he's got Birch Lake, Texas T top 2 times or 3 times would be better, and 3 on the bottom, then I'll outcross to that dog and bring it in to maybe one of my females I was wanting to experiment with in that respect. But I've got to know first something. I don't just blind breed. I've got to know, does that dog hunt? Does it have all-day stamina? Is it going to run till it hurts itself? That kind of stuff before I ever think about it. And even if it does hunt and do all that stuff, is it line bred within its own line? If you understand what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, I'm with you. Absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And
he'll probably know more about breeding than I do. He's a
Hey, look, old Will Mason asked the question. He said, ask you, how did you come up with some of those names like Unbob and Hairpiece?
That's just a God-given trait. A God-given ability.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Look, Hairpiece was one of my better ones, I guess.
Hey, look, Vince Siegel asked the question. He says, hey, just got on here. He says, he just said he didn't know if anybody had asked the question or not, but asked you if you have ever heard of a dog named Abshire's Levy Road TCB Junior.
Don't think I've ever heard of that dog.
Oh, okay. I don't think I have either.
Wasn't that Feist that they was squirrel hunting or something?
Yeah, I think he was half Feist and Chihuahua or something. He had a shot of Beagle in him. I think it was.
That's a squirrel champion, wasn't it?
Yeah, had some Cocoa Star in him. Covington Cocoa Star.
Yeah. I think that's some Cadillac Jack squirrel dog.
That's what it is. No. Post Little Nick Otis. That's what it is. That's what it was.
He knows I know that little dog.
Man, he's crazy.
Asked him if he ever heard of a dog named Spade.
Van Siegel.
Spade.
Look, and I'm gonna see what he says, and waiting on him to reply. Now,
Jim's a chop.
Man, I'm telling you, yeah. When you begin to cull your dogs, outside of what you said before, some of the main things that you begin to look for and loopholes. Or let me ask you like this before I ask that question: what were some of the things that you said were the faults? And I mean, I'm not saying there's a perfect dog, but what are some of the faults that you say that line or some of the lines you've used before potentially had that help you to choose, how to cull, or help you to, you know what I mean. Some people will say, well, I'm looking at this particular line, but I know if you tighten up on this too much and it loses this. If you inbreed or outcross on this, it does this. It tends to throw that, or extra bark, or not enough this or not enough that. What did you see in your lines as they were coming down the pipeline that you seen begin to show up a whole lot in your dogs? I mean, both good and bad. What were some of those things that kept you, on the straight and narrow, besides the grit and all of that, of course?
Well, I think that question went a couple different ways there. But one thing, if you ask me when did I start culling them, that's one question.
Yeah. Let me ask that question first. Yeah. When?
I'll go about this way. Have you ever heard of a bucket pup?
I think I have.
You know what the term bucket pup means? A bucket pup is when you go down to my kennel. I have my kennel set up for my weapon pens. I could go in my building and get into my females and so on. But a bucket pup is the old timers used to use. I never used it in the way they did, but the old timers used to have a bucket, 5-gallon bucket with about 6 inches of water in it. If there was a pup come out of there and had a crooked tail or a bad bite or something, it was a bucket pup. That's where the term come from. But I never used it that way. But what I did do, if I had dog was having pups, and I went down there and she had 6 pups, and I'm picking them up and I'm looking at their mouth. Now, I'd say 90% of people are not going to agree with what I'm going to say, but hey, that's great. That's not a problem. If that dog come out there and I had a dog in there that had a crooked tail, if it had a really bad bite, or some other birth defect or conformation flaw that were really obvious, just as soon as it got big enough to give away, I'd give it to somebody. It was already culled, no matter what. It was already culled. Once they got past all that, it got it big enough to get around in the pen, and I could see their conformation and that kind of thing. Then I would turn them loose back here in the pen and just see how long they would run and see how game they was, how gritty they was, and so on. I'd start kind of making some notes and going down the road with that and see which one's it. Now, to get into the faults of them, you sometimes if you got too close, you'd get tight mouth. They'd be tight mouth with you. Now and again, you get one to speak, maybe was a little like hair-footed or something, and that kind of thing, and maybe their legs weren't exactly as straight as they should be in the front. Things like that would be some problems. Now and again, you get one that would maybe pop off some. I'll spark a little before they jump. Most times it wasn't enough to really cause a problem, but sometimes it would happen. And, other than that, that's about, I guess, about what every breeder looks at. Mm-hmm. But you got to breed, you have to be able to cull. You just have to. Mm-hmm. And not all. I don't care how close and how hard you try to breed. Every pup in the litter is not going to be a really good dog. If you're fortunate enough to have 6 pups and you get 4 that's what you would call just a good solid rabbit dog, and you get maybe a couple that's better than their parents, you've had exceptional breed, I think. Mm-hmm. But if you can't do that, you really probably don't need to breed though. And people say, well, and I've heard this so many times, if you breed a dog and you get 6 pups and you get one good out of the bunch, well, you probably need to do more homework before you breed it. Mm-hmm. So, that's just a matter of opinion, but that's my opinion.
Absolutely. Eddie said, how long should a pup run a deer and why?
How long should a pup run a deer?
And why?
That bird dog won't run a deer all night. That's the next day. He's not going to have enough grit to stay here. But the reason I say that's the thing we used to tell guys that come in from out of state to run with us. It got started years ago. It's a metaphor, so to speak. And what that's all about is grit, heart, endurance. We never had dogs that ran deer. I mean, every now and then we'd have one, but the sheep would break it when it comes time. But a deer race, up on those mountains, those rabbits ran like deer a lot of times. And them guys come from out of state and run with us. I believe that's a deer run there. Well, after a time or two, I got where I didn't care a whole lot about hearing that stuff. But what I said was, if the dog can't run a deer all night and then be ready to hunt the next day, probably get bit a couple times with a copperhead, he probably ain't going to be tough enough to run these mountains anyway. So that just become one of our sayings, and of course our dog didn't run deer. I never got scratched in a field trial ever from a deer. Did get scratched once though, for running a fox.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just a thing that we run. But if a dog couldn't run a deer 7, 8 hours, yeah, that wasn't tough enough. Because deer or something, they can't. I don't know how they lose a deer as big as it is.
Yes, sir. and you know what? That makes all the sense in the world to me. Honestly, one of the young gentlemen said, he says, at what age do you decide if a dog is not trial material? And then on the second half of that, he said, but you like some of the traits in that line. Do you breed or would you cull it?
What age do I think a dog, I can see if it's trial material?
Yes, sir. At what age do you decide if a dog is or is not trial material?
To be on, answer that question honestly, that don't ever enter my mind. A trial. When I'm culling dogs or running dogs and checking to see if the breed is a cross that I just made panned out or not. Field trials, really, I don't really give them any thought at all as far as culling or looking at a field trial. Field trials, that's just some place that I take my dogs to have some fellowship and maybe look at a lot of other people's dogs running and maybe run my dog and see how they compare a little bit or something like that. But as far as bringing the dog for a field trial, I won't waste my time fooling with that. That's not for me. But now, that said, I had a friend of mine once told me that he breeds for field trials, and he figures that a dog that can win in the field trial, he can kill rabbits from it. And that's a true statement. That's very true. But there's a difference in a dog that you can kill rabbits from and a rabbit dog. And I don't, I'm gonna have there'll be some sore toes over that, but that's the way it is. I don't let it, field trials never influenced me as far as my breeding. I went there to look at dogs, and about really the biggest thing to me is getting to judge. I got to see a lot of different kind of dogs run, and if I seen something that was interesting, I would go find who owned it and talk to them about it find out as much information as I could about it, and see maybe if I wanted to do it later. But as far as me taking and breeding a dog or culling a dog just to fit a field trial, I never did even enter my mind. Mm-hmm. If my dogs was good enough for running a field trial, that was all right. But if they weren't good enough for running a field trial, that was all right too. It didn't bother me much either way. Because a good rabbit dog can run anywhere you set it down. Now the difference is, see, what's happening right there. We can get into we can go down that side. If you get into field trialing, and you go to a field trial when you set your dog down in a field trial, what you're doing, you're letting somebody else judge your dog, tell you what's wrong with it, why it's not winning. Well, I couldn't care less what he said about my dog. What he said about my dog, that's his problem. My dog's my dog. He has to feed his own dog. So, I set it down there true, and I let it run in that format. But how it does in that trial, I couldn't care less. I mean, I went to field trials. I've scratched more dogs in field trials because of the judge that I finished them or run them. That don't end. I mean, field trials have got your place, but it's not me. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying they're bad or so, but it's just not me.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I want to ask you this, and I know it could be extensive, but you can take all the time you want. What is a rabbit dog?
Well, let me ask you this now. Since you asked that question in that way, that's kind of, you got a dog can run a rabbit. You got a good rabbit dog. You've got somewhat better rabbit dog. Then you've got that dog with a little extra, So the first couple don't interest me too much. A good rabbit dog to me has got the hard hunt. Of course, that's number one. They got the ability to run. When I say ability, I'm talking about nose, brains, foot, conformation, and the whole package, And they will run a rabbit with intention on catching it with the least amount of losses as possible. And, I don't really know another way to describe that. You can get into the how long they can run, as far as stamina or all that kind of stuff. But basically, a good rabbit dog just will hit a thicket, jump a rabbit, run it to the gunner of the hole with the least amount of losses possible. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much, the rest of it's opinion.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, in let's say like this, do you think a lot of people today, and I know this is highly opinionated, do you think a lot of people today, and I'm not bashing, do you think a lot of people today are breeding to produce the type of dog that would put meat on the table day in and day out? Let's say if McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, if Chick-fil-A is your thing, or wherever, they all close down. How many killings today do you think would be able to survive? And I mean, I'm not trying to get you or put you in a bad place, but how many killings do you think would survive possibly? Because they're not promoting what you just said, what you just explained.
I don't know about how many killings will survive, but less than used to would years back, because they've got too much really trying to, them pretty boy dogs that likes to run out there in the front and impress everybody and circle them pickets and bust out that front end and things. A lot of people are impressed by that, so they breed that way. And, you can kill rabbits off them kind of dogs, but, you take them into a really bad spot that's all you have to hunt, like these mountains up here. You're going to find that a lot of these dogs bred now, and I watch the field trial results a lot there on both sides, and I watch the judging too for that, and I watch these kennels, the dogs that are that are placing in the hunts and the HAC trials, and I watch the ones that are winning their place, and that is important in some ways. But if you know those bloodlines and watch how they're doing them, there's a lot of those dogs from the last few hunts I went to and talking to friends that's still pretty active in it. The dogs are losing so much of their hunt anymore, their desire to just stay in there and dig and work out those hard checks and things like that. It's kind of a hard the question you ask is kind of a hard question to answer, because you can kill rabbits with these dogs, a lot of them, but my idea of a rabbit dog is somewhat different
Absolutely.
than some. But see, it's like when you get into a field trial situation and you go into say you're out and I like the OA or HANKC stuff, the little pack. I was probably more active in it. I fool with some AKC stuff, but I won't pick on them just for use them as an example and because it's easier. Let's say, for example, you've got a pack of dogs that you're running, and they lose the rabbit. It's called a check. The check typically is when dogs stop making forward progress. And there's a time limit. Now that they've got time limits on that. So let's say it's 30 seconds. Just say it's 30 seconds. Okay, after 30 seconds, then the dogs are broke down 30 seconds. Then the check's open, and the the dog that starts back making forward progress, so to speak, on it. They score them give them a check, and they're scored on it. Well, two things is happening there. One, you're scoring a dog for messing up. You're giving it positive points for making a mistake to start with. Now, let's say they don't find that check after the 30 seconds up and check's open. Let's say they don't find it for 4 or 5 minutes. Then they all track down, they move off over through there and start looking for another rabbit. Okay? So now you have made an excuse for that dog not to find that rabbit back. You just walked off and left it over there because the dogs couldn't find it back. Now, are those dogs going to put meat on the table? I know I've done that. I've had my dogs been in the same spot. I'm not talking about nobody else's dog. I'm talking about all of the dogs, mine included. When you start rewarding dogs for messing up and you start getting in a hurry and give a dog a few minutes to find a check, and they don't find it, and you go off looking for another rabbit. If you do do that too many times a day, you ain't going to have no rabbits. They going to be through. So, you know, that's what we look at.
Yeah.
But then you got to, you know, then of course you got opinions that gets into all that where somebody says, you know, check's open and so on. Then a dog comes in there and say a dog goes right back to where you've seen that rabbit lose that, lost that there. And you have this one dog in a 5, he comes back there, he sticks his nose in the ground, he's smelling along, it's getting a little bit harder. These other 4 dogs are blew up to the wind. This dog keeps pecking around, goes a little ways, when you're watching him, you've seen the rabbit, so you know he's going the right way. In a few minutes, he yelps a little bit, and then he starts to bark. By the time he barks 4th or 5th time, old pretty boy Joe comes swinging through by him, grabs that track, and leaves. Which dog got that check? That's opinion. You know, to me, there's no contest. There's nothing to debate about it. Had that dog not called him back, pretty boy would never know that rabbit's in the world. But other judges and stuff, they get influenced by that. And, you know, so what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of difference in that kind of dog and that rabbit dog.
Man.
I don't know if that answers your
No,
question.
yes, sir. It absolutely did. It absolutely did. Now, one gentleman asked a question. He says, "Can you breed hunt into a line or into a dog?"
Yes, sir. If you couldn't, why would you be breeding, really? Yeah, if you know, when he said breed it into him, he didn't say conditioning or feed it.
Absolutely.
Breeding is the whole deal. You find a group of dogs that's got that intense, extreme hunt and crosses in with dogs, it may take a couple times, and if you're selective and pay attention, you'll get the hunt. You know, you may have to go back breeding to it a few times, but yeah, you can breed. I've done that. You can breed hunt into it. You can breed anything you want in a dog, good or bad.
Okay. Now
That's the only way it's going to get there.
Now let me ask you this question: would you take your time to solicit that same kind of hunt that you're talking about, that extreme hunt, that thorough accountability, that precision and accuracy? Would you take your time to diligently seek what you need to put into this dog as far as something as premier and as deal maker or deal breaker as hunt? Would you breed a female that didn't have, I'm talking about on a scale from 1 to 10, she had a 2 hunt? Would you waste your time? Now, I know you wouldn't keep her. I mean, that's common sense. I know you yourself wouldn't. But in that particular instance where a person can say, you know what, well, she's got everything else. Now, and I'm not trying to down anybody, but you know where I'm getting ready to go with this. She's got everything else. Man, listen, she can't jump a rabbit. She'll stand in the road. But my God, if the rabbit gets up, man, she'll burn him. She'll drive him. She'll run the catch. But if you go into a tough check or whatever, she stands around, looks for a dog, and then she runs to him. Well, would you take your time to find that extreme hunt and put back over into that dog, even though you can put it back in there? Would you waste your time in doing that? Or is that a waste of time?
Well, no. The answer to the question is absolutely not. But that said, the dog standing in the road, and I've seen, I'll tell you something about that in just a minute, but the dog standing in the road probably won't last long enough to get bred, first of all. But if she could run a rabbit like she is tied to it, first she's got to find it. And I'm not going in there kicking it up for her to start with. Now, see, that goes back to having people, and I've run into people that had packs of dogs over here. They said, well, there's my jump dog. These 2 right here is my track dog. And, you know, so, well, that's the craziest thing I've heard in my life. If every dog in that pack, if you can't take it out to rabbits with it all day, you've just got one dog. That's just you're feeding 4 or 5 dogs just because you like to look at them, I guess.
Absolutely.
But no. But I'll give you an example. I made a cross once, and had one. I had a dog like that come out of it. I didn't have it. I got rid of him as puppies, but give this, that, and other. But a friend of mine had this pup, and he was up 15, 16 months old, and I was riding a horse over on the mountain once, and I ran into him. Here's this old stupid-looking blue tick standing around the middle of the road. I said, well, what's going on with that? He said, buddy, when they jump that rabbit, that dog can smoke it. I said, well, that's one way of looking at it, yes. We stood around there a few minutes. Sure enough, they jumped one. That dog went there and ground track, run into the hole just in a little bit. Then he come back over and stood around waiting for him to jump another one. I told him, I said, what would you take for that dog? He said, what? I said, well, how much would you sell me that dog? He said, what are you going to do with it? I said, well, I'm going to take it somewhere and give it somebody for a pet. Because it sure don't need to be reproducing. And I was the one bred the dog. And so that's, no. If a dog's standing around the road, best thing for it to park it somewhere. And I mean, that's right now, when I say that, again, opinion. That's my opinion.
Yes, sir.
My opinion, and $5 might buy you a cup of coffee, so you just have to take it for what it's worth.
Absolutely. Well, I bring you on, and people like yourselves on, because, you guys' opinion is respected. And, I've got a chance to see some of your dogs, not so much as the primary, strain of what you had and so forth and so forth. But I've got a chance to see some of the derivatives of your dogs that are derived from your line. And I respect you enough as a breeder. I consider myself a 10% breeder, having some success in different families of dogs from, like we said before, American Pit Bull Terriers and chickens and bird dogs, but never so much as fully on beagles. But I understand that you have that same type of mindset that I call a combat mind. Where go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I've bred game roosters. My cousin is probably one of the top in the United States. He's been to Guam and Philippines and everywhere. With him putting with game chicken, I know a little bit about that. I went to school for handling and all that stuff years and years ago when I was young and crazy. And I've put with pit bull dogs. I know a little bit about that. Breeding is breeding. Whatever you're looking for, it's breeding. That's just that simple.
Absolutely.
You got first thing, like I said, I'm going to keep going back to this. You first got to know what you want.
Absolutely. Now, and then look, let's say this, because I that's what I've been wanting to ask you. It kept slipping my mind, and every time that you ask it, come through, and it'd leave. I can't say how many, because we will never be able to actually pinpoint the particular number. How can I say this? Would you say majority of the people, and again, we're just talking, would you say majority of the people today, or any time, don't really know what it is that they want? Because a lot of people don't, I'll let you answer that. I'm not going to go into, okay. Would you say that?
I would say probably about 50-50.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is, and I'm going by kind of the people that's been here over the years looking for a dog, and you ask them what they want, they say, well, what kind's a good one? And, what kind do I need to kill rabbits with? And I've been, it's kind of like, and I know this might be a little off topic, but the point may come home. I sold a guy a squirrel dog about 7 years ago, and he'd had some squirrel dogs and was into it pretty good. And he's my age guy. We talk all the time, and his son is trying to find a dog, yada yada yada. Well, anyway, at that time I had a particular dog. It was a decent little dog for sale, so I sold it to him. And to try to make a long story shorter, he hunted the dog a little while, and he called me and he asked me first, said, how long can I try the dog? I said, you try the dog till you're happy from one way or the other. There's no time, leaving no, just whatever suits you. So anyway, in a couple of weeks he called me and he told me this is what he said. He said, I thought over the years that I'd had squirrel dogs, and I thought I knew what I wanted in a squirrel dog, but I didn't know what it is. What I wanted in a squirrel dog, or what squirrel dog was. But now I do. And a lot of people, they know what they want, but they just haven't seen it yet.
Absolutely.
And so it's like me and Eddie was looking up years ago, and he'll tell you this, I believe it will, and Richard Wilder and some of the other guys that throw up here. We was watching some dogs run. This has been years ago. That's a long time ago, 20 plus years. And we was watching a pack of dogs run one day, and I told Eddie, we stand up on a big rock watching. I said, hey, you may not know this right now because I know you've not seen it. At that time, I'd been lucky enough to run with some guys that had good dogs. I didn't have any. At that particular time, I had some dogs that was pretty far dogs. But I was just really getting to that point. These other guys like John New and his brother there and Linton and some of those guys, just named RV and Dexter, those guys had good dogs back in those days. I was just really getting to the point that I was kind of getting to where that I pretty much zeroed in what I wanted. We had 7 dogs running over there one day, and they was, they was driving. They weren't running. They was smoking. And you could have thrown a blanket over all of them anytime you've seen them. I told Eddie, I said, you're probably watching one of the best pack of hounds right now that you'll ever see in your life. I said, not because that they're our dogs. That's got nothing to do with it. We just lucky enough we finagled around here, mixed them around together to where that they work. And I said, they may not do this forever, but at this particular time, right this minute, this day, this rabbit, that's about as good as it gets. Now, will it be that way tomorrow? God only knows. And I told him, man, and I asked him not too long ago, I said, have you ever seen another pack run like we saw those at that particular time? Of course, they said no. And years ago, I was running in Jackson County. I had a little red dog. She was running, and that pack of dogs could fly out and run a rabbit. And we'd stand down there, and R.B. Sister was down there, and I think Rufus Stewart was down there, and Kendall North, and that guy, a bunch of them standing down there. Them dogs were absolutely pounding rabbits, 15-inch bitch class, and they were smoking. And them guys said, well, I don't know how they're going to play, so-and-so, and this, and I said, boy, I'll tell you something. If mine's dead last, I'm just proud to have a dog and run with them dogs. Boy, they're running right now. I mean, I'd just be proud to say I had a dog could run in that pack, But first, you've got to know what you want. And that's what goes down. That goes right back to what you were saying a while ago. When people go to field trials, and they watch these dogs run, and they get influenced real easy by these flashy dogs that's jumping out in front. And some of them flashy dogs is not just flashy. When I say flashy dogs jumping out front, I'm not saying they're bad. Some of them guys will smoke your bitches for you. But, a lot of times maybe it's not so much, and people get influenced by shiny things, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. One person asked a question. They said, ask you what you thought about line breeding as far as it being too close. What do you consider to be too close?
Brother and sister.
Full brother, full sister, or half brother?
I never do that. I don't do that. A lot of people does, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's not for me. It's not me. I never did it. I breed typically uncle to maybe niece, and I have bred father to daughter just once. And when I say once, I don't mean once in that time. I don't, like, if I breed father or daughter now, I don't take that daughter and breed back to the father, what I'm saying. I go off to an uncle or great uncle or something like that. I line breed, but I don't inbreed.
Mm-hmm.
And line breeding to me, and that's just my personal opinion, but I know Dexter line breeds, he's heavy into it, and he's daggone good at it. I don't think I'm as smart as him in that respect. I know my limits, so to speak. I don't get that close. I don't breed brothers, sisters, and so on. I try to line breed and go in and go out. And when I make outcrops, I have to study that dog off good and know it's got the same characteristics as the other dogs.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
So to answer that question would be 4 mates. I won't do that.
Oh yeah, yes, sir. And that makes sense. That makes sense. Another gentleman asked the question. They say, hold on, they just asked it again and just went up. Hold on one second. They said, ask Rufus, when breeding, who is more important, female or male?
What's the difference? I don't know there's a difference. Now, when that said, if there's dogs out here that I saw that you could, a female, I won't use it because it's simple. I saw a female, I had one that you could breed to a Chihuahua and get a rabbit dog. Now, I've seen male dogs, you could do the same thing. You could breed them because them dogs were dominant in their breeding. But the everyday common breeder or common dog, the male dog is no more influential than the female. It's 50-50, any way you want to run the numbers on it. Now, exception on that, I think, is say you've got an exceptional, strong, line-bred male dog. That's really line-bred that can reproduce in its own. And you breed it to an outcross type female that's maybe just got a little bit of it, then you're going to see more of his characteristics. But at the same time, if you've got that really strong line-bred female, and you breed to a male that's not hardly that strong or not hardly that close line-bred, then you're going to see her characteristics. So I never did have I wanted a good strong bitch line, but I always bred in kind. So, I don't really have a preference on that. I guess I keep females because males don't reproduce them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think one has no more. I don't think one has no more influence on the other. If you're talking about the same caliber dogs. Now, of course, if you're breeding a top-notch female, some mediocre male, or vice versa, then you're going to see you probably see differences in that way. I guess.
Oh yes, absolutely. Eddie asked the question. He said, "What's the best dog you've ever bred?"
Best dog ever bred?
Mm-hmm.
That's that Rottweiler right here. Just guessing. I don't know. Gosh, that's a question, man. Let's see. Well, it'd be. That's a tough question. It would be between Chester and Scrub, and I like them both. So I don't know, man. I would just have to flip a coin. Yeah.
Mm.
I've had a lot of them that I like. Well, I didn't breed Voodoo, but I did breed Scrub. Wayne Gross bred Voodoo, but. Gosh, man, that's a hard. I'm gonna stick with it. I like Chester and I like Scrub. If I was gonna pick between them, I would go with Scrub, but not for. Well, I would probably go with Scrub. I like Chester off good too, though, man. He's a heck of a dog. That's a hard question. I'd be tickled to death to have either one of them today. I know that.
Absolutely.
But there's some other ones out there that I don't know. The people, some of the guys probably took some of my dogs and bred them, probably did better than I did with them.
Mm-hmm. Another gentleman asked the question. He says, in line breeding, do you outcross when you notice a need or a scheduled generation, second, third, or fourth cross?
Well, kind of both on that. There are certain points you get to, you have to outcross, and then sometimes you'll do it because of where you want to go with your next breeding, where you're planning 3 generations or so ahead, and you'll have to find a strand of dogs that's compatible with your running style and how your dogs are and their nose and mouth and hunt and all that. And it's both. You can manage it better if you do it on planned breeding, but you're going to get to a point, if you try to breed line dogs, you're going to get to a point you're going to have to outcross. You can plan it though. That's a good question.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yes sir, it was. It definitely was. Another gentleman asked the question, says, "What line do you think crossed best to the Dingus blood?"
Northwest Spur.
Mm-hmm. I knew you was gonna say that.
Personal opinion. Birch Lake T wasn't too bad either. Old Birch Lake Miss T and all that stuff weren't bad, but I'd go with Spur.
Mm-hmm.
Them dogs will hurt you, them Spur and Dingus crosses would. They didn't run the front end that much, but I tell you one thing, they'd run you dead in the middle of the pack.
Mm.
If you thought you had a fast dog in a day's time, if I put you in the right spot, them dogs hurt you. They was a good friend of mine sent me a dog down here once that was a fast dog, or said to be fast, put it that way. I took him over and watched him run up, and he was fast. But I put him on a hillside over here in a thicket and put Voodoo with him. No, I had Scrub. I put Scrub with him. Scrub made him look like a pup. But if you took him out in open fields and stuff, he's a fast-footed dog. But fast-footed don't necessarily mean a fast dog. Mm-hmm. Mm. If a dog keeps running off the track, we was a hunt once years ago down, I think it was down Mississippi somewhere down there. I don't remember exactly. It's been so long ago. Old buddy of mine over Kenny Hill over there in Tennessee, he bred a lot of Dingus dogs and had some daggone good ones too. And I ran into him down at that hunt, and we was out there, and I was running Voodoo back then, and he had a big old red male dog there. Nice looking dog too, boy. He's a big old pretty dog. And Kenneth, I mean, we used to act about each other all the time, cut up. He said, Rufus, that dog fast? I said, nope, he ain't fast. He said, he better be. This dog here can fly. I said, well, I like to see a good fast dog. So anyway, we turned them loose. They got off over and jumped a rabbit. Hopped up on a big old cedar Christmas tree looking hillside they went. Got up there and we listened to them. They run about 25 or 30 minutes up there, but we wasn't giving them no check, 5 or 6 seconds. About all they get. Well, the rabbit turned and came back down to us. We're standing in a sandy road there, about 20 foot wide. And I know Eddie on some of these guys heard this story several times probably. But they come off that hill and we could see them in old sage grass and stuff that was there. We seen the rabbit coming. Well, Boo was about 30 or 40 yards in front of them dogs. Kenny looked at me and he said, you lied to me. You told me that dog ain't fast. I said, he ain't fast, Ken. Just watch. We got down, that rabbit got down to the middle of the road right there where we were standing at. It got behind halfway of that road. It turned left, kicked the sand up, turned left, went about 75 to 100 yards, and then turned right across the road on through there it went. When Voodoo got down there, when that rabbit kicked the sand up, Voodoo's nose didn't miss that probably 12, 14 inches. He turned left, and right down through there he went, and he turned right. When them other dogs got down there before that rabbit turned left, they went plumb across that road. I went out through there 50 or 75 yards. He said, I see what you're talking about. But it wasn't that he was fast, he just didn't miss.
Makes perfect sense.
Well, you know, I saw, you know, and those times used to tell me this, they call it the anchor dog. A dog runs second or third in the pack that holds that dog, that line, that bunch of dogs together. A lot of times he's the fastest dog. It may not be the front end dog. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Oh yes, sir. Perfect sense. Yeah, perfect sense. I was just sharing that with a friend of mine up north. As a matter of fact, a couple of days ago, he said he wanted a hard hitting dog that just drives the front and so forth and so forth. I said, man, I'll take a medium fast dog that can get the job done and just hammer that rabbit without missing a beat, like you just said, precision and accuracy.
That's me too.
Yeah, that dog will walk circles around a greased lightning dog, because that greased lightning dog, unless he's just one in a million, that greased lightning dog going to miss a lot and going to leave a lot on the table, him or her. And that dog running medium fast, they can keep it going. He's going to make that dog look stupid. He's going to hang him out to dry.
Well, he's going to run him out before too long because he's making too many extra footprints.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. One gentleman asked a question. He says, how much does pedigree / blood play versus what ability of the dogs, excuse me, let me ask it again. How much does pedigree / blood play versus what the ability of the dogs, I'm trying to read what he's saying. It just didn't make sense right there. Pretty much, let me say it like this. I'm going to rephrase what he's saying. I know what he's saying, but it didn't make sense how he said it. How much does the pedigree and the blood versus what the actual dog is able to do in ability and sheer performance, what plays the difference in that when it comes to breeding? Is there a time when you trust the blood or pedigree over the performance?
Yes, sir. There's a lot of things can affect performance, but it won't change blood. Blood will come to the top.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, you can take a dog out there that's I don't know what it's called. You can take a dog that's performing pretty good out there. Let's say an outcross dog. I saw some different outcross dogs that were good dogs, but they couldn't reproduce themselves because the blood, they weren't line bred, and it's like, you know, blind squirrel finds acronym now, so to speak. But that blood will continually come to the top.
Mm-hmm.
No matter, I don't care if it's good, bad, or indifferent. That's one thing Dexter pointed out was it took me to wholeheartedly agree upon that. If you're breeding off of ability and you don't know anything about them pedigrees, yeah, you know these old timers took these great dogs, they crossed them out there and there, and they got some pretty good dogs. But I'm a firm believer in that blood. You're not going to get consistency without knowing what you're breeding. You can't breeding. It's like reaching in the closet trying to find a shirt in the dark. It's it's easier to turn the light on.
Absolutely. One gentleman asked a question, says, ask you about the Pine Mountain and Buddy Iron Eagles cross.
I don't know that I ever made that cross, but it seemed like I had some Iron Eagle dogs at one time. Somebody crossed it over. I don't remember who. It might have been Will Mason. I don't remember who.
think it was Abshire. I think that's what he's probably going to get at.
Could have been Abshire.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that. I would expect that would have been a pretty good cross. I don't know that I did, but now everything's there. I mean, it's a good cross. I don't see why it wouldn't be. I don't see the holes in it, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a pretty good cross. I don't think we ever did it. Jim said something on some kind of post I saw in the last couple of days there that me and Dexter would ever got together and bred. And, over years, I don't know really how we didn't bump into each other in that respect. There's the way he bred and the way I bred. Because we bred a lot of similar type of dog, but we just never did get tangled up. But we did think a lot alike. He was a lot better at it than I was, and so on. But we did have a lot of the same views on things.
Mm-hmm.
I always had a lot of respect for old Dexter. He'd come through with a lot of dogs, and I watched his pedigree, studied them a lot, but I did everybody. But I would have thought an Iron Eagle would have crossed good over my dog.
Yes, sir. Oh, it did. He definitely did. It was. Somebody said it. It definitely was. They took the Caddy dog. I think the name dog was the Caddy dog.
I remember that.
Yeah, and took and bred her back to Iron Eagle. Yeah. And it turned out to be a nice dog. That came out of it. A lot of nice dogs, a couple nice dogs. But somebody asked the question.
I remember that.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Somebody asked the question and said, "What about lumberjack bred dogs?"
Well, lumberjack was somebody else's dog. Wasn't my dog.
Mm-hmm.
That's about the best way I can explain that.
Yeah, we're gonna stay diplomatic. Another gentleman asked the question. He says, "Will he breed to a great dog that has all plus attributes, but has not shown to produce those same characteristics that it has?" I think he's pretty much goes into talking about voodoo. Basically, it's not what he's saying, but it's the same thing that you were saying earlier. He says, "Does he breed to a dog based on its ability or based on what it produces?"
Based on what it produces.
Mm-hmm.
Ability, well, you've got to have ability, but if it's producing ability. So yeah, if it's got the ability but can't produce, that's like voodoo. Voodoo's wants good rabbit dogs. Ours they sat on the ground, but he didn't reproduce, so I didn't breed him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I say that, I'm being really hard on the dog because I only bred him like 3 times and never seen anything. Moody Blues made rabbit champion, but I probably culled some dogs out there that may have turned out later to have been pretty good dogs. I culled them a little bit early. I got a little aggravated with them, but and the guys that knows me knows when I cull pretty harsh, and sometimes that's maybe not the best way to do that. But the strong survive, so to speak. But no, they got. If you're gonna breed, why would you breed to something that don't reproduce? I don't really.
Mm-hmm.
I breed the one that reproduces.
Absolutely. One gentleman asked the question, said, "Did you ever see the Stony Hills Gator dog run?"
No, sir.
Okay.
Never did see.
One gentleman also asked the question. He says, "When you compare your dogs from over the years of breeding, what gains or losses have you seen in the traits you were trying to maintain?" And then he asked the question. He says, "Would you say you've lost any good traits over the years or improved on them?"
Well, some improved, some lost. But really the only thing, I guess, let's see. I think I hope I'm saying this right. I think I improved the dogs as far as hunting and intense desire and grit. Hopefully I helped their conformation the way I went about it, and that improves everything else. It's just like building a house from foundation up. You've got to have the foundation and put all that stuff in it. Now, there's a few places that I get some dogs that popped off a little bit extra part, and then there's a few places that they get tight too. There, if you didn't pay attention, but if I heard them in any way, it would be they get a little bit tight. If I heard the breed, or my dogs, or whoever's dogs, if I heard them in any way, I maybe got them a little bit tight mouth, because I always like a real hot nosed dog. I didn't like them popping off till that rabbit actually bust out. So I was a little particular about that, maybe a little bit too particular, but if I heard them any way, it would probably be maybe a little bit tight mouth. And if hopefully I bettered them in their hunt, their confirmation, their intense desire, their grit. Hopefully I done more help than I did harm.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And let me see. What else did this other gentleman just ask? One individual asked a question. He says, man, they coming in. He says, ask him about the split log bred dog and the hard hit and blue boys.
I couldn't comment on them either way. I don't know which dog they're actually talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell them anything to help them in that.
Yes, sir. Well, I tell you what, Mr. Stewart, I think we've had a great conversation, a great discussion. I don't want to continue to try to get pork from a dead pig or dead hog, but and it's not that it's dead. But I want to ask you this question as we get ready to bring this to a close. I want to ask you this question tonight in my appreciation of you actually coming on and accepting the invite. If we were able to put you in a field, and I ask everybody this, because everybody is different. If we were able to put you in a field or a coliseum with 1 million people, that you got some that just started out with beagles. You got some that started out with whatever dog or did this or whatever. Some have been in it for 10, 20 years. Some have been in it for 40, 50 years, or whatever the situation is. What would you say that you would ask? You would say to those people, not ask. I'm sorry. What would you say that if you had, I don't know, X amount of time? What would you say to those people that you would want them to get? You did touch on it earlier, but what would you want them to get? From all of your years of labor and intense, trial and error. And some don't even understand. Sometimes for a lot of people, it's sometimes more error than trial, but for you, it was success. What would you want those people to get out of all of your efforts to keep your line going and flowing and everything? What would you want them to get?
First, know what you want. When you find it, keep it. Don't be swayed by the flavors of the month, and so to speak, and that kind of thing. But know what you want, figure it out, find it, and keep it. Try new stuff, try to better it, find what you want, work your butt off to try to make it better, and try not to do no harm. Mm-hmm. Mm. That'd be the best way. That'd be the best way I would know how to say that. If you know what you want and you work toward it, chances are you're going to help the breed. And you just find what you want, and Lord's will you'll get it. And once you get it, just don't let nobody talk you out of it. Stay with it and try to improve on it. Once you get what you want, you will know where it needs to improve. So improve on it, do the research, whatever it takes, and try to make it better. And if you can't, don't do it. Just work off somebody else. But just try not to do no harm and try to better the breed. The bettering the breed has been my goal ever since I started. Mm-hmm. And if you better the breed, you're going to better your dog. You're going to better your hunt dog, and not only yours, but your friend's dog. If you continually try to better the breed, and you're going to help everybody. But if you just go out here and breed to try to sell pups, and you go out here and breed to some dog that everybody's liking just because he's famous or popular, whatever the terms you want to use, and you want to go that route, you're not better the breed, you're making money. I've heard the comment several times that it's like a business, people got to run these kennels, they're wanting to make money, and, I would suggest getting a job if you want to make money and try to make a better the breed and not to do any harm in it.
Man. Powerful words from a powerful gentleman. You guys have heard it best. Thank all of you as you're thanking us. We thank you guys tonight for chiming on. This is Just Talking Dogs again. My name is Tyson Anderson with Anderson's Beagles. I'm just a small fry in the grease. Just trying to do half of what this gentleman that we're having on tonight, the Rufus Stewart, again, for you guys that don't know and is asking the questions. His name is Mr. Rufus Stewart of Pineville, Kentucky. He is the establishmentarian of Pine Mountain Beagles. He had Pine Mountain Chester, Charlie, Voodoo, all of these different dogs, Gracie, Pine Mountain Spirit. He's the guy that, pretty much those dogs came from, that produced your dogs like field champion Abshire's Levi Junie, That's, this guy. His Chester was Junie's father. I think it was Gracie, if I'm not mistaken, was Junie's mother. That goes in to show, a lot of people don't know who they are because, they don't put themselves on the pedestal to promote themselves as such. But this is actually, and also for you guys that don't know, this is actually a platform that I believe that the Lord has given me. And it's a clean one. We try to keep it as clean as possible, as positive as possible, to show people that we're not all about, and when I say we, I'm not talking about us because it's not about us, but I'm talking about we as beaglers. We don't just tear down or beat down each other. The sport of beagling, registries, field trialing, we're not here to do any of that, to bash, to demote, degrade, or anything. Our main focus is to promote the beagles, first and foremost, and to promote great houndsmanship. And I could not have chosen, by the grace of God, someone else to, such as a Mr. Rufus Stewart, to follow up the last week's interview with the kind of integrity that this man has had, the character that he's had, and the tenacity. But most of all, the ability to stay firm and stay steadfast in the discipline that he has, that he's been governed in for all of these many years, since I think he said 74 or 77. That's pretty major, that he did not compromise, he did not waver, and he did not sell out. And that's the thing that I respect about him most. So thank you, Mr. Stewart. Thank all of the viewers. Thank you guys for gelling in and chiming in. You guys are the gel. Y'all are those anchor dogs. Trust and believe. Without you guys, hey, I may be spearheading it and driving it, front running and be flashy, but I promise you, it's you guys that bring it all together and keep the race going. So we appreciate you guys. Tally ho and run those hounds. Run them till they melt. And if you will you leave us with your famous quote, Mr. Stewart? What's your quote? The no fear in their eyes.
No fear in their eyes, no quit in their heart, and no respect for their own body.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Yes, sir.
Hey, thank you, Tyson. It's been a pleasure, and I hope I maybe help somebody.
Yes, sir. If you didn't, you helped me again. I feel like I just came out of school.
All right. Thank you, Tyson.
Thank you. Uh-huh.